What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. The 2022 NBA play-in games get started tonight, featuring 7 seeds hosting 8 seeds. Now tomorrow night we'll have 9 seeds holding 10 seeds. Now this is how the play-in format works. The 7-8 winner will take on the number 2 seed in the Western Conference and the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. The loser will then host the 9th and 10th seed winner. And the winner of that will take on the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference and the 8th seed in the Western Conference. So basically the 7th, 8th seed just got to win one of the next 2 games that they're in. And the 9th and 10th seed will have to win both games in order to get into the playoffs. Last year, the Memphis Grizzlies were the 9th seed. They beat the San Antonio Spurs. Then they took on the Golden State Warriors, who had lost to the 7th seed Los Angeles Lakers. They beat the Warriors, and they took on the 1 seed Utah Jazz. So that's an example of a 9th seed winning both games and getting in. Now the Washington Wizards, who were the 8th seed in the East, they lost to the 7th seed Boston Celtics. They then beat the Indiana Pacers, who beat the 10th seed Washington Wizards, and they were able to take on the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia 76ers. In the 7th seed, Boston Celtics took on the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, Brooklyn Nets. That's how the playoff formats works. It's bringing more intrigue, especially when we talk about the end of the NBA season. Now, I think the NBA season needs to be cut short. I think they need to cut down from 82 to maybe 68, because there's too many times where when you get toward the end of the season, you got players sitting out. You got players sitting out throughout the season, but when a team, I just think it's just a bad, it's just too much basketball. You know, you got the regular season, then you got another 2 months of playoff basketball. It's just too much basketball. I think they need to, because there's too many games where people don't really care about. Too many regular season games where people really don't, it's not a lot of importance to a lot of those games during the regular season. Unlike the NFL, when you got 16 games, now 17 games, and every game is important because teams are trying to win their division and secure home field advantage. So every game is big, and they're playing once a week. It's just too many games a week. When you got 4 or 5 games each week that you're playing, you know, just too many games. You got a lot of back-to-backs. In a lot of cases, on the second game of the back-to-back, especially if you got a veteran superstar, you're going to sit them down in that second game of back-to-back. And it's just too many games, man. I think if could give a suggestion to the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, is just to cut the NBA season from 82 to 68 to put more importance on the regular season. Baseball need to do the same thing. 162 games is too many. They need to cut that down to maybe 100 games or maybe 120 games. Cut that stuff down. Just too many games. And, you know, you already expanding your playoffs in the Major League Baseball and in the NFL. And the NBA, they can't expand their playoffs no more. Half the teams making the playoffs anyway. But I think they would do better to cut down on the regular season games. That's just my opinion, man. You can take it for what it's worth. You can agree or disagree. But let's talk about the defending NBA champions, Milwaukee Bucks, led by 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, a.k.a. the Greek Freak. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a.k.a. the Greek Freak, as I butcher his name. Did they duck the smoke with Brooklyn Nets? That's the question of this video. Milwaukee Bucks had a chance to clinch the number 2 seed, but they instead rested their starters in the last game of the regular season involving themselves and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers were still fighting for that 7th seed against the Brooklyn Nets, so they played their starters. But the Milwaukee Bucks, led by the decision of head coach Mike Budenholzer, decided to rest their star players, including Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jrue Holiday, and Chris Middleton. They got blowed out. The game really didn't mean nothing for them, I guess. It did mean something, but in their eyes, it didn't mean nothing, as they chose rest over seeding. Or did they choose a lesser team in their eyes over a stronger team in their eyes? Because they'd have played the Brooklyn Nets in the first round. That's a 6-game series at minimum. They're not going to run through the Brooklyn Nets. That's not a short series. That's not a 4-0 sweep or what they call nowadays a gentleman's sweep, 4-1. Now, they're set up to take on the Chicago Bulls, who have been struggling mightily since the injuries of Lonzo Ball and Caruso. You know, DeMar DeRozan who was in the mix for the MVP, players falling off significantly. They're just not the same team, man. They've probably been one of the worst teams in basketball after the All-Star break. So they're struggling mightily. That seems like that series ain't going to go past 5 games. I could easily see that series being a sweep in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks, and that would give them the opportunity to get some rest and wait on the winner of Boston versus Brooklyn. That's if Brooklyn gets by Cleveland tonight. You know, that's going to be a long series. That's a 6-game series. While they battling out, going tooth and nail, you know, Milwaukee kind of can sit back and wait on the winner and maybe have an advantage going into the series in the second round. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. A lot of people say it was strategic. Some people say they was scared of the first round matchup with the Brooklyn Nets. But I kind of find that kind of rich for the people to say that they would have been scared, because even this way, they're going to take on Brooklyn before the Eastern Conference Finals. Say Brooklyn beats Cleveland tonight, and then they take on Boston, and they beat Boston. Guess who Milwaukee got to play next? They got to play Brooklyn in the second round. It's not like they was avoiding facing Brooklyn into the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, that's the last final before you take on the Western Conference champion. So you're avoiding the team all the way to the end, which is being accused of the Philadelphia 76ers. You know, they the 4th seed, and everybody saw what happened when they matched up with Brooklyn, man. They got smoked in that game, and a lot of people say they was strategically trying to maneuver where they could push that potential match out as far off into the playoffs as possible. And if they continue to win in the first round and the second round, which ain't no guarantee, they got to play Toronto in the first round, and then they would have to take on a potential matchup with the number 1 seed Miami in the second round. Say they get through that, then they would have to take on a Brooklyn if Brooklyn is able to win that playing game tonight, beat Boston in the first round, and then upset the defending champions in the second round, which wouldn't be a major upset in a lot of people's eyes. When you look at the NBA Finals odds, the Brooklyn Nets has the 3rd best odds behind the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks. So a lot of people still look at them as one of the teams to beat in the NBA playoffs, despite entering the play-in game, which is no guarantee to actually make the playoffs, which will take place this Sunday. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about, do you think Milwaukee ducked the smoke with the Brooklyn Nets? I don't believe they ducked the smoke with the Brooklyn Nets, because if they were really trying to duck the smoke with the Brooklyn Nets, they would have tried to fall down to the 4th seed. Well, they don't have to see the Brooklyn Nets potentially to the Eastern Conference Finals. That'll be the 3rd round of the playoffs. So they didn't really duck the smoke. I just think they was trying to choose rest over seeding. They say 2 seed to 3 seed. It really don't matter. We still looking at taking on potentially the 2 seed in Boston. They'll have home field advantage, but we're not going to really worry about Game 7 being in Boston instead of Milwaukee. We won a Game 7 in Brooklyn last year. We ain't ducking no smoke. We feel very confident that we can win a road game, and we rather make sure that we don't get one of our core players hurt in a meaningless game in our eyes just to get up 1 seed and potentially lose one of our star players or one of our core players in a last game of the regular season. I think that was the mindset of head coach Mike Budenholzer. Let me know your thoughts on what you think Milwaukee was trying to accomplish by resting their starters in the last game of the regular season and eventually sliding down from the 2 seed to the 3 seed. Let me know your thoughts about the Brooklyn Nets and what they can do in the playoffs. Do you think they are what Vegas say they are, one of the top contenders for the NBA title in its 2022 playoffs? Let me know your thoughts. And follow me on Twitter, JBsports3303. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.